Welcome to the Highest Health Podcast. Raise your health, elevate yourself, and enrich your life. Experience a world of health sovereignty. As you near your highest health, you near your most luminous self. Hello, Dr. Natasha, and thank you so much for coming on. We actually had you on the podcast 2 years ago, and you gave us a beautiful explanation of the GAPS diet, which stands for gut and physiology syndrome or gut and psychology syndrome. And it is amazing because there's these illnesses and diseases that people or doctors specifically, and just the general public would say are not reversible, and they're deemed a lifelong sentence. But with the GAPS protocol, you've seen in your practice a lot of these things just disappear, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Awesome.
That's right.
So for this episode, I was hoping we can get into like more particular things that are kind of like current stuff that's happening right now. And then our listeners can go back to the initial episode to learn more about the GAPS protocol if they missed that one.
Okay.
Excellent.
Well, thank you for inviting me today. I'm delighted to be here. And we have discussed GAPS before. I'm the creator of the GAPS nutritional protocol, which heals all chronic illnesses.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining. It's such a pleasure to have you back. And the first question that I wanted to ask your opinion on is, have you heard of Ozempic?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on it? I know a lot of people are using it for weight loss these days.
It's a terrible thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible. The long-term consequences are going to be serious for these people. So it is not a good idea at all.
Okay. And then on the note of weight loss, like do you have any particular recommendations for weight loss or ideas on why like people are holding on to weight?
It's metabolic syndrome, which has been explained a long time, starting from Dr. Atkins, God bless him. So he's explained why people gain weight. People gain weight because they have far too much insulin in their blood.
Okay.
They walk around all day long with high insulin in their blood. And that is a very dangerous situation to have in your body. Insulin is a very important hormone, which is produced by our pancreas, and its role to remove sugars out of the blood and push them into the cells, into the muscle cells and bone cells and other cells in the body, which then use this glucose for various functions. So insulin is the little key that opens the doors on those cells and pushes the glucose out of the blood into those cells.
Excellent.
Because high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and low blood sugar are both dangerous situations in the body. Every time people eat a breakfast cereal in the morning, or have sugar, or have bread, or have bagels, or biscuits, or cakes, or anything that is made out of processed carbohydrates. Every time you drink a soft drink, which is loaded with sugar, and every time you eat soya, or every time you eat vegetable oils, or any processed things, anything that doesn't look like what Mother Nature made, created, which means it's been processed in some factory, then packaged for you in colorful packaging and called food. It's not food, it's a pseudo food. It's a fake food. It's a man-made concoctions which are then called food. So whenever you eat these sort of things, your blood sugar level rises very rapidly and above normal level. That is a dangerous situation in the body. So the body produces a shock amount of insulin to deal with that sugar, to remove it from the blood urgently, quickly, and push it into the cells. This situation in our modern world begins in the childhood, usually, because the parents like to indulge their children and they buy them things made out of wheat and sugar and processed things, various processed things, snacks and sweets and sweet drinks and cakes and biscuits and pasta and all sorts of processed carbohydrates. When this sort of situation happens once, occasionally the body can cope. Okay. But when it's happening every day, all the time, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and in between, eventually these mechanisms in the body break. The person starts producing too much insulin, far too much. So you constantly have high levels of insulin in your blood to deal with this avalanche of sugars coming in all the time. It's just a flood of sugars all day long, and sometimes even in the middle of the night.
Wow.
So insulin is a master fat storage hormone.
Okay.
As long as you have too much insulin in your bloodstream, you'll be storing everything you eat as fat. A piece of lettuce will be stored as fat.
Wow.
A piece of cucumber will be stored as fat. Anything you eat, absolutely anything.
As long as there's too much insulin.
Exactly. So you will be putting weight on, and it will be very difficult for you to lose it.
Okay.
On top of that, insulin does many, many other things in the body. For example, it is a pro-inflammatory hormone. So if you have too much insulin in your body, you will have inflammation in your body in various places. In fact, your body will be trigger happy to launch inflammation at any point, and it will be very difficult to reduce that inflammation. Anyway, so if you had a trauma, if you bumped yourself, or if something else happens, or you had some stress, you will have insulin response, and you will have inflammation in your body somewhere.
Okay.
Inflammation is uncomfortable. High levels of insulin do many, many other things. They interfere with our hormone production. They interfere with neurotransmitter production. They can cause depression. They can cause low thyroid function. They can cause anything and everything in the body. It is not a healthy situation to have too much insulin in your blood.
Okay, excellent.
And unfortunately, our doctors don't test for it. They test for tail end parameters of this problem, such as blood cholesterol or blood lipid, something else, so they can sell you drugs for every one of those.
Right.
Because their job is to sell drugs, to sell pharmaceuticals. Where if they test it for insulin, and they're not given easy ways of testing for insulin, they're simply not given these tools. So much doctors are not even aware of this situation, unfortunately. So logically, if you would think that if someone's overweight and they knew that their insulin level is too high, we need to reduce it. How do you reduce level of insulin? Stop the flood. Stop consuming all these processed carbohydrates, processed sugar.
And the processed seed oils, I would imagine, too, right?
Absolutely. Seed oils break these mechanisms, and soya, and all processed things. But particularly it is sugar and wheat and rice and maize and other and potatoes.
Okay.
Everything that contains starch, everything that contains concentrated amounts of carbohydrates.
Okay.
So soft drinks are a particular villain in this situation. Our shelves in supermarkets are groaning with a huge variety of colorful bottles with colorful drinks in them, advertised very effectively. So people get addicted to these things from childhood.
Yeah.
From young childhood, early childhood. This is a major, major number one cause of our obesity epidemic. So if you have excessive weight on your body, the first thing to do is to stop drinking all soft drinks. Drop them all, because all of them are made out of sugar and chemicals. None of them do your body any good. They're all toxic. All of them. They all damage your health. That's the first thing. The next thing is to remove sugar, to remove breakfast cereals, to remove bread, to remove anything made out of flour, pasta, snacks, and anything starchy. And GAPS diet actually does all that. Problem is, the most addictive thing on our planet when it comes to drug addiction is sugar.
Wow.
The second most addictive thing on our planet is wheat flour. All other things go after that. All of these processed things are addictive. First of all, because the food industry has hundreds and hundreds of chemicals that it invented, which are advertised as making your food irresistible. They're not making your food irresistible, they're turning you into a drug addict.
Yep.
They're addictive drugs that specifically added to snacks and crisps and Pringles and all sorts of other things that people are snacking on. So you can't stop. You get addicted to these things. But then there is another very powerful mechanism of addiction with all of these sugars. When we eat them, the microbial community that lives in your digestive system also eats them. That's what GAPS is. Basically, GAPS is about that microbial community in the gut. There's a powerful, a very large microbial community in your digestive system, which is sitting there waiting for you to swallow your food and give it to them. And trouble is, practically 100% of Western population and the rest of the world is catching up rapidly, have abnormal microbial community in their digestive system. Damaged microbial community. All microbial communities in nature function on balance, on harmony. Okay. Every microbe needs to be present in that community because all of them fulfill their little functions and they control each other.
Okay.
They don't allow any one of those to get out of control and start causing trouble. Unfortunately, in our modern world, we human beings are very good at creating disharmony, imbalance in nature. Every time you take an antibiotic, you kill off some microbes in that microbial community. And as a result, the balance is gone. The harmony is gone. Other microbes which remain there will overgrow. And they turn from being benevolent members of a balanced, harmonious microbial community, they turn into your worst enemy. Things that overgrow, first and foremost, are fungi in your digestive tract, and then some bacteria overgrow, and protozoa overgrow, and other things overgrow.
Okay.
And trouble is, today, people are not only taking antibiotics from the doctor, they are eating antibiotics for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Practically 100% of agricultural chemicals that are used on our fields to grow the crops are antibiotics in their nature. Glyphosate is the most commonly used one, and it is a broad-spectrum antibiotic. That's the active ingredient in Roundup herbicide. It's a terrible poison causing every disease in the world. And the farmers nowadays spray this poisonous chemical right before harvest.
Wow.
Because it desiccates the crop and makes it easier to harvest. So wheat is sprayed and barley is sprayed and soy and sugar beet is sprayed and all sorts of oil seeds are sprayed. So the ready product, the ready crop that is harvested is absolutely soaked in this antibiotic, broad spectrum antibiotic. So every bite of bread you eat, every bite of breakfast cereals you eat is soaked in glyphosate.
Wow.
Research shows that organic produce from supermarkets is just as bad. It is also contaminated with glyphosate. So you are eating antibiotics for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Wow.
Damaging your gut flora on a daily basis. So when you have that overgrowth of pathogenic microbes in the gut as a result, they eat the food that you consumed, and they're clever. They convert that food into thousands of poisonous chemicals, which absorb into your blood, into your lymph, get distributed around the body and cause all kinds of diseases. Allergies, autoimmunity, hormonal problems, endocrine problems, neurological problems, all kinds of problems.
Okay.
But these microbes are clever. Part of that toxicity, they make in the form of endorphins and morphins, addictive chemicals. These chemicals absorb, they get into your brain, and they turn you into a drug addict.
Wow.
So the brain wants more. It keeps telling you, eat that sugar, eat that wheat, eat these processed things. I love that snack. I love that brand. I love that soft drink. Keep eating it because that's the addiction. That is how sugar and wheat have become the most addictive substances in the world. They turn you into a drug addict through the action of your microbial community in the gut on these foods.
Wow.
Fungi that overgrow in your digestive tract convert all these processed carbohydrates, all these sugars, into alcohol. So you're not only a drug addict, you become an alcoholic.
Wow.
You're constantly producing certain amounts of alcohol in your digestive system, which are absorbing and turning your brain into an alcoholic, which wants more. So our 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, little children are often drug addicts and alcoholics as well. These children in particular, as soon as they eat anything, particularly anything with processed carbohydrates, their behavior changes instantly. They become hyperactive, they become unreasonable, they can cry for no good reason or just be uncontrollable.
Okay.
You can't reason with them and you can't control their behavior. And they can't learn and they can't focus, those children, because the child got drunk.
Wow.
Your 2-3-year-old is behaving like a man who just had too much to drink.
Wow.
So he has no reason and he loses his critique and he just becomes hyperactive and jolly and happy. And you can't control him.
Wow.
Because these children are drug addicts and alcoholics. That's how these things make you addicted. And that's how they turn you into addicts. So when people try to remove these foods, they have to face that drug addiction.
Okay.
And that alcoholism.
Wow.
It is why so many people fail and absolutely cannot remove these processed carbohydrates out of their diet. As soon as they try, they have to face that situation. Dealing with drug addiction and alcoholism is very, very difficult. It's not easy. So the first thing to do, and that's the most important thing to do, is fat.
Okay.
Animal fat. You need to consume large amounts of animal fats with breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and in between, because fat changes your metabolism in the body and it brings down that addiction. And it has to be animal fats, not vegetable oils, nothing made from plants or seeds. It has to be butter, cream, sour cream, lamb fat, beef fat, goose fat, duck fat, pork fat. Make sure that all your meals are full of that. And people who have unstable blood sugar level, and many people with that situation, when they had high levels of insulin in their blood for years and years in their life, they have unstable blood sugar level. So they just feel unwell when the blood sugar, they live on this blood sugar swing. They eat something sugary, their blood sugar goes way above the normal level.
Wow.
Huge amounts of insulin are produced to deal with that, and within a very short time, within an hour or so, the blood sugar swings into the very low level, where these people feel shaky and sweaty and unwell, and they can even faint and tearful and depressed. So to help that situation, they eat another sugary snack or something like that to bring the blood, and off they swing too much again. And they're on this swing, up and down, all day, these people. So for these people, what we recommend, to make a mixture between butter and honey. Honey is the sweetener on the GAPS diet. That's what we use, sweetener. So you take a good quality raw butter, you melt it slightly at room temperature so it's soft, and then add 1 teaspoon of honey and have a taste. If it satisfies you, good. If it's not, add another teaspoon of honey.
Okay.
Depending on the severity of your condition, different people need different number of teaspoons of honey in that butter. So get it to the point for yourself, for your individual situation, when it really satisfies you, it really tastes lovely, and you feel that this is the right amount. And then take that jar of butter honey mixture with you everywhere you go.
Okay.
And keep eating it every 15-20 minutes. Eat a few tablespoons of this mixture. What this mixture will do, the mixture of fat and the honey, it will keep your blood sugar stable. It will stop you swinging from up and down all day long. And that will allow your body to calm down, to stop producing stress hormones, and to start healing, start balancing itself, balancing the production of insulin and other hormones and many, many other chemicals in the body. So that is the first thing to do, to deal with addiction.
Okay.
Ozempic is not going to deal with your addiction.
Right.
And it is not going to deal with your insulin situation, which is called the metabolic syndrome. It will not address any of the root causes of your disaster in the body.
And it's going to have long-term effects.
Exactly. It'll compound the whole thing, and it'll create another addiction for you. And as soon as you stop taking it, you will gain all that fat back on.
Okay.
You will put it all back on, and probably more, and you will be left with side effects of Ozempic.
Okay. So you talked a lot about insulin and how it just, overflows the body when you're eating processed foods, processed wheat and carbohydrates. But my question is fruit okay?
For people who are in this situation, initially, it's best to avoid fruit.
Okay.
Apart from lemons, avocado,
okay,
tomatoes, not sweet things.
Okay.
It's best to avoid them. The only sweetener we use is honey.
Okay.
And the fruit should be avoided. Besides, fruit will feed the fungi in your gut.
Okay.
Feed your alcoholism, because they will immediately convert that orange juice or papaya or peaches or apricots or anything else you eat straight into alcohol. Very quickly.
Wow.
And you will have all the reactions, the usual reactions of addiction to alcohol. So fruit should be avoided. Look at my books. Look at my GAPS books, Gut and Psychology Syndrome and Gut and Physiology Syndrome. One is yellow, it focuses on the brain, and another one is blue, and it focuses on the rest of the body. So that's the Gut and Psychology Syndrome, which focuses on the brain. And that's the Gut and Physiology Syndrome, which focuses on the rest of the body. So please read these books. They complement each other. And follow the full GAPS diet initially.
Okay.
There are several varieties of the GAPS diet now over time that have been developed. But start with the full GAPS diet, because it'll give you a full variety of foods available to you. And because it'll be difficult to overcome the addiction. Addiction and alcoholism are the main reasons why people cannot lose weight. Why no diet really works for them and doesn't have a long-term effect.
Okay.
And that is why they yo-yo from diet to diet, and they gain weight and they lose weight and they gain it again, because you need to heal your gut flora. You need to change the composition of microbes in your gut and overcome that addiction.
Excellent.
And only when you've done all that, then you will lose your weight permanently, and you get rid of all the accompanying health problems, because people with obesity and people with overweight people, they have all kinds of health problems dealing with. Fibromyalgia is common, neurological illnesses are common, allergies are common, psoriasis is common, eczema, other skin problems, kidney problems, chronic cystitis, migraines, mental problems, all kinds of problems are very
hormonal
common.
Issues.
That's right, amongst people with extra weight.
Right.
All of these problems stem from abnormal gut flora. They all caused by that group of microbes in your gut, which are out of balance between themselves and out of balance with your body. If you deal with that microbial community, if you bring the balance back, bring the harmony back, you will deal with all of these problems at once. You will get rid of all of them, including the obesity.
Excellent. I wanted to circle back to your earlier statement of how the farmers, they're spraying the crops right before harvest. I think I read this I think it was your blue book. Correct me if I'm wrong, but once that harvest is processed and turned into flour and distributed to different, let's say bakeries and wholesalers, don't they spray it again after that to keep the bugs and mice out of it? So it's a double whammy.
That's right. They have all sorts of other things, because flour absorbs moisture very quickly. So they have to add chemicals which stop it from absorbing moisture. Flour is a perfect medium for various flies and various beetles to lay their eggs in and feed on flour. So they have to add pesticides to make that flour unattractive for those insects. And there are microscopic, many of them, and microbes and fungi that molds would love to grow in that flour. So all kinds of things are added into that flour, which are not listed on the ingredient list. And then these mixtures are distributed around bakeries, and the bakeries make all the baked goodies out of it, and you're consuming all these chemicals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy because it's like it's sprays on sprays at different times in the process, and it's just like you're paying for a bag of chemicals.
Nobody can eat bread nowadays that you buy in shops.
Mm,
It's simply not good for you. It is
mm,
not good for anyone. If you can digest bread, if you're not overweight and your physiology and your digestive system is robust, it can handle wheat, then you have to make bread yourself at home. And for that, you have to purchase a mill,
mm,
and you have to purchase organic ancient grains such as einkorn and other ancient and bulgur wheat and other ancient grains which are organically grown and not sprayed with anything. You have to grind just enough for one loaf that you're making, and then you need to make proper starter, proper sourdough. So it's a
mm.
big laborious process to get one loaf of bread.
Wow. In France, though, would you say this is different? I think there's a law where in France they do have to ferment bread for 72 hours. Is that right? Or
France has been following the same trend as everywhere else.
oh,
And
really?
they do have a problem now with extra weight and obesity in France,
Okay.
just as anywhere else. Their diet is changing,
Okay.
particularly in Paris and in northern France.
Mm,
Southern France, they're different. Those people, they're less obedient.
okay.
So they follow their cuisine and they follow their traditions better. So there are more healthy people there and there are more traditional foods there. But in the north of France, it's very similar to what's going on everywhere else.
Okay. And then to circle back to your mention of potatoes earlier, I know on the GAPS diet, you're supposed to avoid starch in the initial stages. So for up to 2 years, you typically say. Um, After those 2 years are over, and let's say the person has healed and they have a robust digestion, would you say that it's okay to keep potatoes as a staple in the diet, or would you still say,
Absolutely.
yeah?
Absolutely. You will be able to reintroduce potatoes and reintroduce sweet potatoes and grains.
Mm,
So you can have porridge, and some people even can have wheat and bread as long as they make it themselves.
okay.
As long as you've healed your digestive system and rebalanced that microbial community in your gut. And what will be very, very important for a person who was overweight before, in particular, is to continue consuming large amounts of animal fats with everything.
Wow. Okay.
So your bread should have a piece of butter on top of it, thicker than the bread.
Okay.
So you have your butter with a bit of bread.
Excellent. So we turn the tables from a lot of bread and a little butter to a lot of butter and a little bread.
That's right.
Okay. Excellent. So often with GAPS, it's my understanding that when people go on this protocol, they start to experience detox. Is that something that is that something that you see as well in your practice where people start to, yeah.
Absolutely. There is a die-off reaction.
Okay.
Because the microbes that used to feast on all these processed carbohydrates that you used to eat, they're suddenly not happy.
Mm,
They are starving and they're
okay.
dying out. And when they die out, they release toxins. And these toxins are the very toxins that gave you your individual symptoms of various illnesses. So for a period of time, those symptoms may become slightly worse. It's a die-off reaction, it's called, because those pathogens are dying.
Okay.
Placing them in the GAPS nutritional protocol, we eat a lot of fermented foods, and some people even take probiotics to introduce beneficial microbes into your digestive system to replace all those pathogens. So those beneficial microbes will start killing those pathogens. And so you get this die-off reaction. It can be very mild, or it can be usually majority of people have a medium reaction. You may have just feel a bit more tired than usual, need to sleep a little bit more, might have a few headaches here and there. But some people get a very severe reaction. And these are people in whom the detoxification system in the body is not functioning well, and it cannot deal with any amount of toxicity. Those people will have to move very, very slowly. But everyone has to go through it. Just expect it and be ready for it, and just stiff up your lip and go through it.
Okay. So you just have to go through it. And it's also my understanding that you can go through like multiple waves of it. Is that right? Or is it
happens with people with deep damage,
okay.
chronic illnesses.
Okay.
If you, for example, have at the same time you have depression, anxiety, psoriasis, fibromyalgia, and chronic fatigue.
Okay.
And you have digestive symptoms, maybe and Crohn's disease on top of that.
Wow.
So your body will have to think very carefully, what is my first priority? I can't attack all of that at once. I can't deal with all of that at once. I have to deal with all of these illnesses in layers. I have to peel one layer of the onion, then have a little rest, and then gather resources and get ready to peel the next layer. So you might start, and the first thing that might be gone might be depression. And the next one that will be gone might be polycystic ovaries.
Okay.
The next one, Crohn's disease, might be gone. But all these three things are gone. Your depression's gone, your polycystic ovaries are gone, and the Crohn's disease is gone. But you're still overweight.
Okay.
And quite often these sort of ladies say, well, this is not working.
Right.
You have to focus on what's gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you've healed all those other illnesses, which are very serious, your body decided that its priorities are to remove those things. And they perhaps are easier to remove, because to start attacking your fat tissue and removing it, the body needs to dissolve. Fat tissue is a natural storage spot, natural storage space for toxins in the body. Your fat tissue that you've piled up onto your body is full of toxic metals and phenols and all kinds of poisons.
Wow. So
to melt all that down, to allow you to lose weight, your body needs to be ready to face the flood of those poisons. To handle them appropriately, chelate them appropriately, and remove them out appropriately without breaking you up.
Right.
Without breaking your body. So if the body doesn't have enough resources for all of that, it will not allow you to lose weight. Your weight will still be on. And in some situations, when it particularly for some reason happens in neurological illnesses, we probably know the reason now. In people with multiple sclerosis and Guillain-Barré and various neuropathies and amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, these people have a lot of toxic metals in the brain.
Okay.
And the rest of the nervous system. And it's these toxic metals that are causing the disease. So when it's not the GAPS nutritional protocol, the body then removes these toxic metals out of the brain, out of the nervous system, but it doesn't have enough resources to actually remove them out of the body.
Okay.
So it relocates them. It coats them with certain substances to make them benign, so they sit there like in a prison and do no harm.
Okay.
And then they tuck them away in your thighs.
Okay.
Or your body fat, your under-skin body fat somewhere.
Right.
So very often what we observe, that a person with multiple sclerosis who used to be quite slim, on the GAPS diet starts piling on weight. And they get quite concerned about that I'm piling on weight. But the symptoms of multiple sclerosis are melting away.
Wow.
Because the brain is being cleaned at the expense of piling it all into the fat tissue. So after a few years, maybe 2 or 3 years, after multiple sclerosis is gone, and you're out of your wheelchair, and you're functioning nicely, and you're riding your bicycle, and working in your garden, and everything else, you're doing well, then the body will gather enough resources and decide, now I have enough resources to melt that fat.
Okay.
And face all those toxic metals and safely remove them out of the body. Through the bowel, through the sweat, through the urine, through saliva or something else. So only then you will start losing weight.
Okay.
So you have to understand that your body is doing a very serious work. And in our modern polluted world, particularly the Western world, is the most contaminated world. The Western world, it's extremely contaminated. It's amazing how we survive at all in this kind of environment.
I'm amazed too.
That's right. So the body is facing such a conundrum, such an uphill struggle. You have to respect that. You have to understand what your body is doing and what it's handling, what it's dealing with. So provide it with plenty of concentrated nutrition. And that is what GAPS diet will do for you. It will provide you with concentrated nutrition. So your body has all the necessary resources to deal with all that toxicity and with all that damage.
Excellent. So you talked about heavy metals, and I've seen just on like social media and just in the health community, these offices popping up where they're supposed to be like heavy metal detoxes, and they'll do like an IV chelation, I believe it is. Do you have any, like, is that recommended, or is the GAPS diet enough? I'd imagine there's pros and cons to it.
Absolutely. There's all sorts of chelating methods that have been developed over decades. None of them are perfect.
Okay.
There are some that you have to do with a qualified medical doctor with experience in these sort of things, where you will have IV drips. You will have to lie for hours under this drip. And even those are flawed and can cause severe regressions and severe reactions and severe problems.
Okay.
So you have to be very careful with chelation. And for all people with toxic metal load, and we all have it. We all have toxic metals.
Right, right.
The key is how your body is handling it.
Okay.
Whether your body is able to put it into prison and tuck it away somewhere safe, such as under your skin, in a fat, or your body is unable to do that because it has nutritional deficiencies, it's too toxic, it's just these mechanisms are not working. And as a result, these toxic metals get into your brain, get into your thyroid gland, into your pancreas, into your adrenals and other high fat tissue, into your bone marrow, and start causing serious trouble in the body. Really serious illnesses. So the only time when chelation should be done in a hurry is when a large amount of mercury or lead or arsenic or aluminum or another toxic metal came into your body right now.
Okay.
When you have acute poisoning.
I see.
The most common acute poisoning in our modern world is when a conventional dentist who is not properly trained removes your amalgam fillings. They release such a colossal amount of mercury into your system, into your body, which you breathe and you swallow and you just absorb, that can trigger multiple sclerosis. Or trigger fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome or something else disastrous. And indeed, that's what happens. We have holistic dentistry, which is a special profession where these people are trained how to remove amalgams out of the body safely. Safe. There is probably no completely safe way of doing it, but they at least know how to make it safer, so they don't poison you. But holistic dentists are a rare breed. There aren't many of them around, and they're expensive.
Yep.
It's the demand that will make this profession a bit more numerous, more available and less expensive. But there is not a big demand because people are just faced with this enormous bill, which is usually at least double of a conventional dentist. So they go to a conventional dentist who releases all that mercury into your system.
Wow.
And I have seen many, many clinical disasters after removal of amalgams. So that's the most common way of getting poisoned. But there are other ways, of course, if you work somewhere in a factory where you're exposed to large amounts of toxicity, or something else happens where you had exposure, that's when chelation might be helpful. And the best product that we have at the moment is called imiramide. Imiramide. It is it's a double molecule, which is like a claw. It's made out of 2 glutathione molecules joined together.
Okay.
It's the only molecule that we know so far that is able to grab that mercury and hold on to it. Hold on to it properly without dropping it somewhere.
I see.
It's called imiramide. It's been developed by a wonderful biochemist, and it's made by an Irish company. Was made by an Irish company, but I don't think they ever actually got to receiving the permission to manufacture it properly.
How do you spell it?
Imiramide. IMIRAMIDE.
Amiramide. Okay.
That's right. So there is Chinese are manufacturing it.
Ah.
And people are bringing it into the Western world, under the parapet, basically.
Okay.
And they test it independently so that it's pure. There are no contamination.
I
and
see.
People use it and there are good results. That's
Okay.
the only chelating product that is at the moment is modern and seems to be safer than everything else. All other chelating products which have been used for many, many years, all of them, they can't get that molecule of mercury, grab it, remove it from where it was stored by your body, but then they can't hold on to it.
It drops it elsewhere.
They just redistribute it around your body. They just take it out of one place and drop it somewhere else. And very often, if your body is able to do that, it would work very hard to store these molecules somewhere safe, or under skin fat, or somewhere that it will not cause too much trouble in your body.
Okay.
And this chelation, inappropriately conducted chelation, can remove them out of those safe places and drop them in your brain.
Wow.
Somewhere else where it definitely should not be.
Okay. Do you know where?
So I will be careful with chelation. And the first thing that needs to be done for every person with chronic exposure, we discussed the acute exposure, but with chronic exposure, do not rush with chelation. Toxic metals might be an issue for you, but do not rush with it. First, you need to restore your microbial community in the body. You need to restore your gut flora. You need to heal your gut. You need to start digesting and absorbing food properly and heal and seal your gut wall, because in majority of people it is leaky and porous. And then your detoxification system in the body will recover.
Okay.
We have a cleaner in our body, a mighty powerful cleaner with the headquarters in the liver and departments in every cell. It's called detox system.
Okay.
If it's working nicely, you can be exposed to God knows what, and you wouldn't even notice.
Absolutely.
Because
wow.
Your detox system will deal with all of that. But when the detox system breaks down because it's simply overloaded with toxicity, overloaded with work, that's when you start feeling it. That's when you start developing symptoms and start developing illnesses due to toxicity, to toxins. So the GAPS diet and the GAPS nutritional protocol will restore your detox system back to normal.
Okay.
Allow it to get off the floor and start functioning. And when it starts functioning, it will start removing toxins, including heavy metals, out of your body in ways that our science hasn't even discovered yet.
Amazing.
What I find that, I worked a lot with autism, so practically every autistic child has this issue. Their detox system is broken down and they accumulate all kinds of toxins in the body. So the parents do a lot of testing and they bring a large wad of tests with them usually. And invariably, there are tests there for mercury, for lead, for other toxic metals. And invariably, the child has them. There is a heavy load. And the parents, of course, are very worried about that. And they want to get rid of these toxins out of the body. In every case, I tell them, you implement the GAPS diet first for a year at least.
Okay.
Let's restore his own detox system. And when we restore it and retest a year later, in more than 80% of these children, I find that the metals are gone.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And we didn't do anything about it.
And it's about a year later, or?
About a year later, in some children a bit longer it takes, because the detox system of the child started functioning and it removed them.
That's amazing. I feel like that's so reassuring because like when I see all these heavy metal like detox places popping up, like it is my impression that just, being on the GAPS diet naturally over time will allow those metals to detox out of your body. So to see it actually like proved when you test those children is so reassuring.
That's right. But what we also need to understand, we need to get out of our heads this mentality of squeaky clean.
Right.
Nobody is squeaky clean in our world. We have contaminated our planet. We have contaminated our waters, rivers, and lakes, seas, and oceans. We've contaminated our soil. We're eating contaminated food. How can our bodies be squeaky clean?
Yeah, that's true.
We are all contaminated. And this contamination keeps coming in every day.
Yeah.
Through the air you breathe, through the water you drink, through the water you bathe in, through the clothes you wear, through your washing powders.
Yep.
You know, the bedding and the towels you sleep on, you're breathing all those washing powders and all your personal care products and the makeup and the hair dyes and electromagnetic pollution causes absolute havoc in the human body. So the key is not to try to be squeaky clean, which is impossible. That is unachievable. The key is to get your detox system working in peak performance. You know, get it in the top state. And then your detox system will be handling this daily toxicity appropriately. It may not remove them completely out of your body, but it will make them benign. It will imprison every molecule of mercury or aluminum or anything else and tuck them away somewhere safe.
Okay.
Yes, you will be carrying these molecules in your fat tissue for the rest of your life, but as long as they cause no symptoms and cause you no trouble, that's okay, because we will all die at the end of it.
Yeah, true.
None of us going to survive. So when you die and you shed your body, you'll drop all those toxins like a ton of bricks.
Yep. So
there is no point to try and achieve this kind of squeaky clean state, which is impossible. Just get your body well nourished and strong so it can handle incoming toxicity, because toxins are coming into you all the time.
And the way we get it well nourished and strong and working with a proper detox system is through rebalancing the microbiome with the GAPS diet.
And majority of your body is microbes.
Mm-hmm.
There are far more microbes in you than there are human cells.
Okay.
The human body is a microbial community. And those microbes, when they're in balance, when that microbial community is harmonious, they can handle any toxin. You name it, any toxin they can handle. They can handle anything.
That's amazing.
So rebalance your microbial community, feed them properly, because there's nothing more powerful in nature in its influence on the microbial community than food.
Excellent.
Nothing can come close. Because the human body is a microbial community, there is nothing more powerful in its effect on your health than food. Food that you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and in between.
And that's such good news.
Absolutely nothing can come close to the effect of food on your health. So put your diet right. And if you get on the GAPS diet, on the full GAPS diet, and stay on it for the rest of your life will be much more happy, much happy, and much more symptom-free and disease-free. I stay on the GAPS diet permanently.
I mean,
and I keep my family on it. And as a result, we're all healthy and happy.
Yeah, that's excellent. The full GAPS diet is very liberal, in my opinion. Like, it's not limited. So I think that's, like, from my opinion, like an easy thing to do.
Absolutely. It's delicious. It's very nourishing. And it gives you plenty of energy and bright eyes and bushy tail.
Excellent. So you and your family, you still avoid grains and potatoes and that sort of thing?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Occasionally, very occasionally, we would eat potatoes. And we would only eat potatoes that we grow ourselves.
Excellent.
In our own garden. And that happens maybe once a month.
Okay.
No more. Otherwise, we just stay on the GAPS diet. And it's very satisfying. You never feel hungry. And you have plenty of energy. And you're strong.
Right, right. Strong. Absolutely. The next item that I wanted to ask you about is collagen disorders and like joint pain. So it's my understanding that when you have toxins circulating, they want to bind to the collagen in your joints. Is that right?
That's right. That's what I explained in this blue book.
Right, right.
My latest book, very thick. I'm sorry.
No, it's fantastic. I always go back to it.
Quite a lot to read. And I described the GAPS collagen disorders. So what happens? That is the basis of autoimmunity in the body.
Okay.
Our medical profession, unfortunately, is never given the truth about how diseases develop in the body, where they come from, what the root causes of diseases are. They're only given fairy tales, which lead to tales of drugs.
Yeah, so true.
And one of these fairy tales is the causation of the autoimmune disease. The fairy tale goes like this. It's called the mimicry phenomenon. So it goes like this for the doctors, and the doctors, some believe, some don't believe, but they're soldiers in an army, they have to repeat what they're told.
Right.
So they're told that the immune system of the person goes rogue, and for some reason it's not clever enough to recognize its own tissues, and it for some reason it just starts attacking its own tissues for no good reason when the person develops an autoimmune disease. So in order to deal with that autoimmune disease, we must kill the immune system because it's a rogue.
Wow.
We can't live without the immune system. You know, the immune system is absolutely essential for survival of your body in this world.
Right.
To deal with toxins, to deal with microbes, to deal with parasites, to deal with electromagnetic pollution, anything in this environment. So you go to the doctor, he does a test for you and finds that some antibodies in your blood, says, oh, you've got autoimmunity. Here's a drug for you to kill your immune system, immunosuppressive drugs.
Wow.
The symptoms of your disease, the pain, the swelling, the limitation of function, discomfort, whatever inflammation, are all caused by the immune system because it's doing something. These are tools. Inflammation, autoimmunity are tools that your immune system uses to accomplish certain jobs in your body. So when you start killing your immune system, inflammation stops because the immune system doesn't work anymore. Pain stops, swelling stops, all of these things stop or reduce in severity. So you think, oh, I'm getting better. No, you're not. The disease continues in your body, but this time with nobody dealing with it. Because our medical profession is functioning on a fairy tale called the mimicry phenomenon, on a story which has been concocted by the big pharma and given to them by the big pharma in order to sell drugs. The real cause of autoimmunity, I explained it in this blue book, is contamination. All this toxicity coming into your body gets attached to proteins. The majority of the protein in your body is collagen, because majority of your body is so-called connective tissue. It's a tough, elastic tissue which holds your body together. Without it, you will be a puddle on the floor. All your fascia, your ligaments, capsules of your joints, your bones, the structure of your muscles, because the muscles have a skeleton of their own.
Okay.
The capsules of the joints, you know, all these tough tissues that give your body shape are your connective tissue.
Okay.
That's the majority of you. And the majority of that tissue is made out of this elastic protein called collagen. There are some other elastic proteins, the elastin and other, but the collagen is the bulk, the most important one. When these toxins come into your body, majority of them attach themselves to these molecules of collagen, because collagen has a lot of amino acids in it, which are perfect magnets for toxicity.
Okay.
So these toxins attach themselves to collagen. When they do that, they make that molecule of collagen dirty, contaminated. Your immune system goes around surveying your body all the time. It finds these contaminated molecules of collagen, looks at them, and says, well, you're dirty, you need cleaning. So the first thing the immune system would do, it will use inflammation to clean your contaminated collagen.
I see.
Because inflammation is a tool that the immune system has and it's ready to go. The immune system doesn't have to spend any time making it or preparing it. It's right there, switched on, just grab and use inflammation. And inflammation is extremely effective at cleaning dirty places in the body or dealing with any contamination. But inflammation is what causes pain. The place hurts, it's red, it's swollen, it's hot, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's what inflammation does.
Right.
While it's working. It is very important to respect it and not to suppress it, not to start taking anti-inflammatory drugs. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, painkillers, and all sorts of other things, and not to start running to the doctor and taking even stronger anti-inflammatory drugs.
Like morphine and stuff.
Exactly, because if you suppress, like steroids, for example, because if you suppress inflammation, then your collagen is left contaminated. And contamination keeps coming, and more collagen gets contaminated. You're piling up garbage in your body.
Right, right.
Piles of rubbish in your body, and nobody's cleaning it because you're killing the cleaner. You're just removing the cleaner. You're bashing her on the head saying, don't clean.
Yeah.
That's what you do when you take anti-inflammatory medications and painkillers. So if inflammation is not enough, if the toxins keep coming and coming and coming, the immune system then thinks, well, this tool is not enough. I need to use more tools. It will then develop another tool called autoimmunity.
I see.
And to create autoimmunity, your body needs time. It needs a couple of months to learn about these contaminated molecules of collagen and then give birth to these specific cells which specialize on dealing with that particular contamination.
Wow.
Those are called antibodies, which the doctor finds in your blood when they do tests. And as soon as they find these antibodies, they say, aha, your body's gone, your immune system has gone rogue. It's attacking your body. We better kill it. Here's a drug for you. So that's just a tool that your immune system uses to clean that contaminated collagen. And very often, what the antibodies do, if they cannot clean the collagen, if it's very, very damaged and not impossible to salvage, the immune system will dismantle it and remove it.
Okay.
As something rotten and dirty that just needs to be out. So you will start losing collagen. So that's what collagen disorders are. And these are all forms of arthritis.
I was just about to ask that.
Exactly. No matter what name the doctors give it, all kinds of and all forms of arthritis. It is fibromyalgia, it is lupus, it's osteoarthritis, and it's rheumatoid arthritis, and all the other things. When the joints are swollen, when muscles hurt, when your fascia hurts, your neck hurts, your back hurts.
Right.
They're usually painful conditions, and there is generalized inflammation in the body, or inflammation in certain parts of the body. So what do we need logically, if we think logically about it? What do we need? We need to help our immune system to clean the body, and we need to stop that toxicity coming in. We need to stop contaminating the body. Very often, we need to think what in your lifestyle with a particular person is contaminating you. Maybe you work in a toxic place. That means you have to quit that job. Maybe you live in a toxic place, so you have to move. These decisions are not easy to make, of course. Okay? But you have to think what is more important for you, your health or the job or the place where you live.
Right.
Maybe it is particular hair dyes that you're using every time you wash your hair. Maybe it's particular cleaning chemicals in your body. Maybe your house is contaminated with black mold, which is extremely toxic and can make people sick all over.
Wow.
Maybe it's toxic metals that you contaminated with. So in every situation, in every human being, we have a particular situation to deal with and to assist the body. So the first thing is to stop this toxicity coming in.
Okay.
Stop exposure. So the body can just sort of stand back a little bit and take a breath.
Yep.
And think, right now, what do I do with this pile? How do I clean it out? And then we take measures to assist the body in cleansing. And in the GAPS nutritional protocol, we have natural measures that we use. And we do that gently to assist the body in cleansing. But most importantly, you have to feed the body correctly. To rebalance that microbial community. Remember, your body is a microbial community. And if that microbial community starts functioning the way it should, it'll cleanse you very quickly. Those microbes can neutralize all kinds of toxins.
Wow.
So efficiently, like nobody else.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's incredible because you always see like people go through similar scenarios or similar exposure to toxins, and one person will get so sick and the other person, it's like nothing ever happens. And it comes down to their microbial community.
That's right. And the detox system.
And the detox system. Wow.
But there are good tests that we can do for toxic metals, for example, called Melissa test. And, in some people, you find that their body is full of God knows what. And yet they're fine.
Oh, wow.
They're functioning, they're strong, they've got energy, they don't seem to be particularly ill or unwell. And then you meet a person who is sick all over, hardly functioning, and yet the toxic metal load is very low.
Wow.
Low. It means that their detox system is broken. It can't handle even that small level of toxicity, and these toxins are in the wrong place because the body cannot get them out of those wrong places and handle them appropriately.
Okay. What was the name of that test?
Melissa test. It's MELISA. It's been developed by a Swedish researcher. It's a very good test. You have to actually travel to a laboratory to do it. They take blood, and then they isolate alive lymphocytes from your blood, white blood cells, and expose them to different metals. And then see how your blood, white blood cells react to those. And there are two reactions. One is allergic reaction, when the cells, overreact. That's not too bad. But then there is another reaction, which is called a toxic reaction, when the cell just drops dead on contact.
Wow.
That's a very bad reaction. And in people in whom this reaction is prevalent, they usually have low white blood count.
Okay.
And the doctors can't explain it. Because these metals, the body is just not able to handle toxic metals, and the toxic metals are killing your white blood cells.
I see. Wow. What about, I feel like panic attacks are something I hear more and more people talk about. And I know it would be related to our microbial community, but is there anything in particular that you can share about panic attacks, or like any ways to like mitigate them in the short term?
Panic attacks are due to a huge amount of cortisol coming in.
Oh, okay.
Stress hormones, just a burst of stress hormones. Because, we live in a world where there's so much toxicity, and toxins are stress. And then the people spend abnormal, they have abnormal daily regime. They stimulate their adrenals late at night by drinking a cup of coffee, or doing some other stimulating activity, or watching a horror film, or something else highly stimulating. So the way the human body functions and the way adrenals functions, they're connected to the sunlight.
Okay.
When the sun goes up, cortisol is produced and it increases. So that happens usually, around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning when the sun starts rising. So your cortisol level rises with the sun, and you slowly wake up and get ready to face the day. When the sun sets, your cortisol level gradually and naturally winds down. And it's time to go to bed. So you get up with the sun and you go back to sleep with the sun. And you spend most of the day, humanity always used to do that for millennia, for thousands of years, maybe even for millions of years, where we were outside. We spend most of our lives outside in the sunlight without dark glasses.
Right.
Without lathering ourselves with poisonous chemicals to protect from the sun. Without wearing clothes most of the time. Now people sit indoors and they're exposed to artificial blue light from screens all day long, which also make abnormal the production of stress hormones in the body, particularly cortisol. And in the evenings, that's when they want to relax, as they say. So they go to a party, or they drink, or they watch TV, or they eat too much, and they stimulate themselves, and they go to bed very late. The best quality sleep happens before midnight. It's important for all of us to go to bed and have a few hours of sleep before midnight. Unfortunately, many people don't do that. They stay much longer, and they go to bed after midnight, or early hours in the morning. So their whole sleep cycle is abnormal, upside down. And as a result, they get these bursts of abnormal production of cortisol and other stress hormones. And the neurotransmitter production is abnormal too, unbalanced. Majority of neurotransmitters are chemicals that our nervous system uses. that's the dopamine, serotonin, GABA, and endorphins and other. There's about 200 of them known. Practically all of them, majority of them, are produced in the gut with the activity of our gut flora. When a person has abnormal gut flora, and 100% of Western population has abnormal gut flora, from my point of view, these neurotransmitters are not produced properly. Some are produced in excess, others are produced too little, not enough. And the whole thing is not harmonious, there's no balance anymore. So a panic attack is when you have a large, excessive amount of stress hormones produced, and the neurotransmitters are all over the place.
Wow.
They're not where they should be. And as a result, the person gets this reaction.
Okay.
This panic attack when you can feel awful and act inappropriately.
Right, right.
And you can experience extreme fear, extreme panic, and it's not healthy at all. That's what happens. All mental illnesses, all symptoms coming from your brain are gaps. That is what I described in the yellow book here, my first book that I've ever written. In that book, at the time, I was working with autism and hyperactivity and other learning disabilities in children. That is why that book focused on the brain. And every psychiatric illness, every learning disability in a child or an adult, epilepsy, any symptom or any group of symptoms that the brain can produce are gaps. What happens? These people, these children and adults, develop abnormal gut flora. This abnormal gut flora damages the integrity of their gut wall, making it porous and leaky. Holes develop in the gut wall. And this abnormal gut flora digests the food in their own way, producing millions of poisons. These poisons are absorbed through that damaged gut lining, and the blood carries them to the brain. They get into the brain, they clog it with toxicity, and every human being is unique. It's an individual, and depending on what kind of toxicity is coming and how the brain's reacting to all this contamination, the brain will produce a group of symptoms. And these symptoms might be diagnosed as depression, or anxiety, or bipolar disorder, or schizophrenia, or anorexia, or something else. But in the majority of people, these symptoms don't fit into a diagnostic box because every human being is unique. And the real diagnosis is gaps. It's a toxic river that is coming out of the gut and flowing to the brain that is causing all of these symptoms. So in order to deal with any psychiatric illness, any learning disability, any abnormal development in a child, it's the gut we need to focus on. And the GAPS diet has been around now for more than 20 years. It has a great record of healing children with learning disabilities and people with psychiatric illness.
Yeah, it's miraculous.
Including epilepsy.
Wow. Epilepsy is just essentially like extreme toxicity, right?
Yes, epilepsy is the cleansing reaction. It's a safety valve for the brain.
Okay.
When that level of toxicity in the brain builds too high and it's damaging to the structure of the brain develops this cleansing procedure. It sends an electric discharge through and burns the whole lot of toxins in one go.
Wow.
Clinically, that manifests as an epileptic seizure.
Wow.
And this has been known in the classical psychiatry for centuries. You look at old psychiatric textbooks, that's how it was described. Because in those days, a psychotic patient, there were no medications to control psychosis. So a violent psychotic patient who was dangerous, basically, they were kept in a cage.
Wow.
Put in a cage, these people, unfortunate people. But what they found is, doctors, and what they've observed and described, that when this psychotic individual would have an epileptic seizure in that cage, for a few hours after that seizure, he's normal.
Wow.
Reasonable, normal human being. You can talk to them, you can reason with them, you can let them out of the cage.
Wow.
But then, of course, the toxicity builds up again, coming out of the gut. This river of toxicity coming out of the gut flows through the brain. It builds up again. Might take a few days in some people, might take a few hours in other people, and the person will slide back into psychosis. So epileptic seizure is a cleansing procedure for the brain.
Okay.
The more often these seizures happen, the more toxicity there is in the brain, the more contaminated the brain is. The less the brain is contaminated, the less chances of seizures there are. The same mechanism is in tics, in Tourette, in fits, and in febrile seizures. In any kind of these strange involuntary movements and tics and fits in people. So we need to understand that this is cleansing procedure. So we need to decontaminate the brain. And in order to do that, the first thing that needs to be done, stop the toxins coming in. And in order to do that, we need to heal the gut, because that's where the toxins are coming from.
Wow. So I know there are doctors out there who would recommend brain surgery for epilepsy, but I mean, according to this, brain surgery would be completely unhelpful, right?
There are dangerous forms of epilepsy when a person has several grand seizures per day.
Oh, okay.
Very contaminated people. And in those, a seizure can kill.
Okay.
Some seizures do lead to
right.
loss of life. So in those situations, it's a good idea to suppress that activity. With medication, now we have powerful medications to do that. But long term, you need to clean the gut. You need to heal and seal the gut wall, change that microbial community in the gut, and the epilepsy gradually will melt away on its own.
Okay, excellent. The final thing that I wanted to ask you about was holistic pet care for both like dogs and cats and farm animals. And we can talk about everything from their food supply to vaccines to a common thing, at least here in like America, is veterinarians will often prescribe or recommend dental cleaning. But my concern with that is always like the dog has to be sedated, and then they always send the dog home with antibiotics and anti-inflammatories. And in my head, I'm like, I don't want to put my dog on antibiotics in particular. And she eats like she eats a very strong diet of like meat, a lot rich in like ADK. So in my opinion, it's like her teeth are strong, but she just has tartar buildup. So I'm just thinking like in most cases, or like in that particular case where they have a healthy diet and the tooth itself is healthy, like, is that even recommendable? That was a long question.
For human beings, it's best to avoid the medical profession altogether. The same for animals. Avoid the veterinary profession because they're trained the same way the medical doctors are trained. Their main tools is antibiotic on one hand and steroid on another.
Yeah.
For every situation, it's antibiotic and a steroid.
Right, right.
Unless you can do surgery or something else. And again, a body of an animal is just as much a microbial community as a body of a human being. So food is the most important influence on a microbial community in nature. Food. So you have to feed your animal appropriately for their physiology. What do dogs? Dogs came from wolves. What do wolves eat in the wild?
Rodents.
Do they eat pellets made out of grains?
No.
All cooked?
No.
Does nature provide them with that kind of food? No. They eat raw meat. And the first thing they would eat would be liver or the brain of the animal. Organs are the most valuable. I have a beautiful Newfoundland at home, and he eats raw offal.
Wow, awesome.
He drinks raw milk, and he eats cheese. He loves cheese.
That's awesome.
That's all he is. He's very healthy. He doesn't have any health problems or health issues. And his breed usually, the typical sort of problem they have are poor hips, weak hips, where they become lame. And
right.
Some people even do hip replacements for Newfoundlands. It's very expensive, terrible.
I'd imagine.
Absolutely. As soon as our dog started drinking raw milk, all the lameness, everything disappeared.
That's awesome.
Raw milk is an absolute cure for that. And raw cream, of course, and cheese made out of raw milk.
I give my dog kefir, raw goat kefir.
Wonderful, wonderful. And our dog eats lots of bones. Every time we have any bones, raw bones or cooked bones, including lamb bones and chicken bones and goose and duck bones, he just crunches them away. And if you give your dog bones from the beginning, when he's a puppy, to start, he learns how to eat them safely. He would leave bits that he can't handle, which are sharp, and he just can't. He will leave them, but all the good bits he will eat. That way, when he eats, they're supposed to eat bones. It's natural for them to chew bones.
I would imagine in the wild, like when they kill an animal.
Absolutely. Knowing a good bone is what a dog does.
Right.
What a dog is supposed to do. And that's how they clean their teeth. So if you give them bones, if you don't listen to the propaganda saying, oh, no, never give bones to your dog, they'll choke. They're not stupid. The dogs, they know when to leave a bone and they can't handle it. We never had any problems. And all of my life I had dogs, practically. So as long as they eat bones from the beginning, they get used to them, and they eat them carefully. They develop a good sense of what to chew and what not to chew, and their teeth will be clean, and you don't need a vet.
That's incredible.
That's right. The same with cats. Cats need to be on raw meat, and the cat must have a piece of liver every day. Raw liver, raw meat, raw liver, raw hearts, lungs, stomachs of animals, they're awful. And in the Western world, because nobody wants these organs from the butchers often throw them away.
Yeah, it's true.
Give them away for free, so you can purchase them very cheaply, very inexpensively. Particularly if you befriend a good butcher and he's got contact with good farmers, you can get grass-fed, the best quality.
Yeah. They are catching on now, though. Like there is more of a demand for offal. Like I would imagine, like thanks to like podcasting and individuals like you
we've been doing a good job.
Yeah. Yes. So they have caught on and I guess capitalized on it by
it's getting more expensive.
Yeah.
Well, you see, my dog who's in Newfoundland, he eats a lot.
Right.
Every day. So I'm an organic farmer, a regenerative farmer, but our meat is not enough for him. So we have to purchase.
Wow.
That's right. But we purchase grass-fed for him, and it's all organs. He lives on organs.
I mean, it sounds excellent with their nutrient profile.
And if you feed the animal the food that's appropriate for their physiology, they're healthy, they're happy, there's no need for vets, there's no need for any, vaccinations should not be administered to anyone at any point. Avoid all of that nonsense altogether. So a cow should be on grass. A goat should eat vegetation. Then you will have a healthy goat with a healthy milk. And the goats eat things that nobody else wants to eat. Like
really?
thistles and, and ivy and other things. They need silver pasture goats. They need bushes and shrubs and trees and grass in between. And so do cows. The cows do very well in silver pasture as well. Pigs need a forest. Pigs need a forest. So if they're in a forest, they're happy because they find the natural foods for them. So they dig with their snouts and they find mushrooms and they find grubs and small and insects and sort of worms and small animals and things like that. And they eat them. So pigs need to be in the forest. Geese and ducks need to be in a wetland. They need a pond. Then they will be healthy and happy because they sieve through their round beaks. They sieve the water from the pond and they get a lot of plankton and a lot of little things that live in the water. So
awesome.
Every creature needs to live in a habitat that it's been made by Mother Nature, by the Grand Creator to live.
Right.
Then they find their own food and they're healthy and they're happy.
Yeah.
On my farm, we do not purchase any commercial feed for any of our animals. We make everything ourselves. And it's very simple. Our chickens and pigs, let's start with chickens first. Our chickens eat sprouted fermented grain and kefir.
Oh, awesome.
That is all we feed them.
Wow.
Because we have a lot of leftover milk after making butter and cream. And all of that milk gets fermented with kefir grains for the chickens. So we mix sprouted fermented grain. We take big bins, we fill them up with grain and top it up with water. Fill it up with water and leave it.
Okay.
And we just have several bins like that going all the time for our chickens. So the grain ferments and it sprouts. And in that form, it is easier for them to digest. We use wheat and we use barley.
Okay.
Just plain whole grain. You don't need to do anything with it at all. And if you mix it with kefir, kefir provides the chickens with the probiotic microbes, with vitamin A, vitamin D, and vitamin K2, and good protein and good fats. So their eggshells, as a result, are strong. People feed them inedible things like oyster shells to make eggshells strong. No, you give them dairy, and then they'll have strong eggshells.
Interesting.
And they will be healthy. But our chickens free range all over the farm, so they find the real food for themselves. They find themselves
the bugs, yeah.
That's right, the bugs, the worms, and they eat a lot of grass. You know, the color in the egg yolk, the yellow color in the egg yolk, it comes from the carotenoids from the grasses and herbs. Chickens consume in abundance.
Okay.
Do you know where the color comes in the supermarket eggs?
Pardon?
The yellow color in the egg yolk.
Yeah, it's not normal, right?
Do you know where it comes from in the supermarket eggs?
Like soy or?
It comes from synthetic dyes.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
That's right.
Huh.
So which egg is going to give you good health?
Right.
The one which is colored with synthetic dyes, or the one which is colored with beta carotenoids from the grasses?
How do they color it with synthetic dyes, though?
They just add the yellow dye into the chicken feed.
Huh. Interesting.
Synthetic yellow dye, which colors. Without this dye, the egg yolks will be so pale they'll be completely unappealing.
Fascinating.
For people to eat. So
interesting.
You want your chickens to be on grass, on herbs, and it's best for them to roam free all over the farm. So they're not bored, they have a busy social life, and they find their own food. And as a result, they're healthy and robust and beautiful and give fantastic eggs. Delicious.
Amazing. And
the pigs we feed with the same sprouted fermented grain and kefir.
Okay.
But we not only sprout and ferment the grain, we cook it for them as well.
Okay.
And we cook potatoes for the pigs, and we cook any vegetables leftovers that we have.
Okay.
And one more ingredient is given to the pigs on a daily basis, and that is bone broth. We set up these electric crock pots, slow cookers, which work on electricity.
Yeah.
And all the bones that are left from our dog and left from cooking or fresh, just go in there, a bit of vinegar, they're covered with water, and they simmer forever. Those pots are never switched off. Amazing. So the pigs get that broth. The bones continue cooking, but the broth they get from those bones in the morning and in the evening. Bone broth.
Wow.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
That's
awesome.
That's
their breakfast and their dinner. And the rest of the day, they find their own food. So we never had any health problems, and we never had any parasites or any veterinary attention needed. Healthy, beautiful, happy pigs. That's incredible. This simple food.
Yeah, beautiful. So 2 questions. So I guess pigs, they are okay to eat grains, but ideally they should be fermented and sprouted.
They should be fermented and sprouted and cooked, because pigs have a very similar digestive system to human beings.
Okay.
We have a very similar digestive system, and the pigs can develop celiac disease, and their digestive system can get damaged by gluten and by grains. That's why we sprout and ferment our grain first, so the microbes can digest the grain first, because the only things on our planet that can truly digest plant matter are microbes.
Okay.
Nobody, particularly seeds of plants. Grains are seeds. Beans are seeds. So these things need to be first digested by microbes, and only then the pigs should consume it. So we ferment it and sprout it, and then we cook it on top of it for them. So it's really easy for them to digest. And that way we find that they digest it well, they grow well. And we cook potatoes as well, because potatoes are a poisonous plant. And particularly raw. And when it's raw, it's indigestible. Nobody should be eating raw potatoes.
Yeah, so awful.
We cook potatoes for our pigs.
Okay.
And then the bone broth is added, and the bone broth will have fat in it, and all the minerals and amino acids in it, and the pigs find, and then leftovers. And of course, the pigs then get apples and whatever leftovers of vegetables we have.
Delicious.
a variety of things, and they're very happy pigs.
Excellent. That's beautiful. What about fleas? I know that like at veterinarian offices, like that's one of the first things they'll want to sell to you is flea products. In a like holistic practice, how would you prevent fleas from being on your pets?
Fleas are cleanses. Cats and dogs and fleas have evolved together. They co-evolved together. The more contaminated the body of a cat is, the more fleas that cat will be afflicted with. And no matter what you do, she'll keep getting them. Because cats catch mice. And if you live in an environment that is contaminated with agricultural chemicals, and we live in that environment, unfortunately, our farm is a paradise. It's an oasis surrounded by industrial wasteland of arable industrial agriculture, and they pouring chemicals on their land. So, and the whole Western world is like that. It's contaminated. So all the wild animals in there, the mice, the rats, the rabbits, and other little wild animals, they're all contaminated. And the more the body of an animal is contaminated, the more parasites that animal will have, and the more insects they will have feeding on them. Because every flea, when it bites and sucks the blood, it cleanses. It takes out toxins. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Nature doesn't work on survival of the fittest. That is a propaganda given to us to keep us here. Nature works on cooperation, on balance and on harmony. But every life form serves all the other life forms around. It's just that we need to look deeper and to study deeper all these complex relationships to understand how it works. Because on the face of it, you think, oh, the cat ate the mouse. How cruel, how terrible.
Right.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all. There's a cooperation going on. So these fleas that live on the mice and on the rats, they keep their bodies clean and they keep their detox system functioning. So they can function in a toxic world. And when a cat catches a mouse and catches the rat and eats them, she gets the fleas.
Interesting.
Of course, the fleas will run off the mouse, they will run onto the cat. Jump onto the cat. So you can never get rid of fleas unless your cat lives in an apartment high up somewhere, never sees nature, never steps on anything natural, and you just pour pesticides on that cat and kill all the fleas.
Yeah.
Your cat and then your cat will get cancer.
Yeah. Sad.
And something else.
Yeah. It's very it's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle. And the same is happening to humanity in the Western world. Humans are so contaminated. The ultimate contamination disease is cancer. And another one that is a rival of cancer is Lyme disease now. What we find with Lyme disease is it's a community of microbes that overgrow in that person's body. Borrelia is only one member of it. They blame it on Borrelia, the furry, but there are lots and lots of other things. There are some viruses there, and bacteria, mycoplasma, and fungi are involved. It's a whole community of microbes that are literally ravishing the body of that person because the body is so contaminated. It has no ways of cleaning itself. The detox system is broken down. It employs this microbial community to keep the body in a livable state. So they overgrow. And of course, as they clean, they at the same time pollute, and at the same time they cause many symptoms themselves in their own right. And that is the typical picture of the Lyme disease.
Wow. Yeah, it reminds me of like gardens that are polluted and they grow weeds. Like the weeds are really there trying to clean out the soil, is what I understand.
Exactly. And cover the soil.
Right.
The soil must never be left bare. The older population of gardeners in particular are so adamant. They live all their lives leaving bare soil between their plants. They think that's beautiful. The beauty they see in that. If you leave the soil bare, it dries and dies. You're killing it.
That's a good point.
Its fertility reduces all the time, and it can't hold water. The soil must always be covered. That is why when humans bare a patch of soil in the garden, nature immediately works very hard to cover it up with plants by growing weeds. by growing plants that we call weeds. There are no weeds in nature. It's a purely man-made invention, that idea. But nature uses these pioneer plants, which are uncapricious and which are good at cleansing and good at keeping moisture in, and it just covers that patch of bare soil.
So we should leave the leaves and leave the flowers that fall to the ground.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
If you want your weed to allow your tomatoes or your other plants, your cabbages to grow, you pull that weed out. You can scrunch it a little like that, put it back down where it grew.
Amazing.
So that its wilting body will return the moisture back into the soil and return the nutrients back to the soil. And at the same time, when the soil is covered by these dying weeds, the moisture accumulates underneath. And as a result, the microbial community, all microbes need moisture to thrive. The microbial community will thrive in that soil, and they will produce humus, and that humus will hold more moisture. As a result, the soil will be healthy and its fertility will be increasing.
Okay, wow.
But if you remove the weeds, if you pull them out and throw them somewhere else, remove them and left bare soil between your cabbages or your tomatoes or your other plants in the village, then what happens? Raindrops or water that you're watering with in the garden, they bounce off that surface of the soil, they break the outer layer of that soil, and they create a crust. That crackling crust. And
very
that
dry.
crust doesn't allow the water to penetrate.
Huh.
You might have a torrential rain that was pouring for 2 days. And after that rain, you think that your soil should be full of water, should be well watered.
Right.
But you push your fingers underneath that crust, the soil's dry.
Wow. Yeah, I've seen that. I know what you're talking about.
Absolutely. That crust doesn't allow the water to penetrate. It runs off. It bounces off and it runs off the crust. So your plants are starving for water. They're thirsty. The microbial community is dying underneath that crust. The fertility is reducing. You are destroying your soil.
Wow.
And when you're watering the sky. Because that water evaporates very quickly. Yeah, it evaporates very quickly. Your plants get very, very little. And then you wonder, why my plants are not growing so well? The soil is not fertile enough. I better get some chemicals.
Right. Yeah.
I better put some chemicals on my garden. And majority of these gardens finish up doing that. But if you covered the soil, if you got those weeds, that are growing around, you can pull them out or you can just trample them down.
Okay.
Do not leave any millimeter of your soil bare.
Okay.
You can cover it with old hay, old straw, freshly cut grass from your lawn, or it's a fantastic mulch, or any other organic matter, leaves from under your trees or from the forest is good. And weeds are wonderful. When you pull them out, scratch them a little, put them down.
That's excellent advice.
Exactly where they grow. Yes, it will not look pretty like the traditional gardeners think that pretty is bare soil.
Right. Or I mean,
about it. It's the same as taking a sharp knife and scratching your skin off and thinking that that's pretty.
Yeah.
The soil is the skin of our planet.
Wow.
When you're burying it like that, when you're leaving it bare, that's what you're doing.
Wow.
You're hurting the planet. You're destroying the planet's skin. Bare soil is like patches of painful eczema on the surface of our
planet. That's the way you put it. I've never heard it like that before, but I think it's, something we definitely need to hear. It makes me think of composting, and that would be like a similar practice, I suppose, where people take old like apple skins and bones and they decompress them and they like put it on their soil. That would be a good thing, right?
Absolutely. Compost is a good mulch too.
Okay. Sometimes
you can mulch with your compost, and it doesn't have to be ready when you're mulching, because you're not putting it under the soil, you're putting it on the surface. It doesn't have to be ready. It can be a compost which is quite young, and you can just spread it all over.
Okay.
And if you're not particularly fussed with how your garden looks, you can just take your scraps of food, your peelings of potatoes and peelings from your vegetables and carrot tops and whatever else, and just spread it, cover the soil with these things.
Right, right.
Yes, it may not look pretty, but it will be very good for the soil because it will cover the soil, keep the moisture underneath. The dew every morning and every night will be accumulating under that mulch.
Excellent.
So the microbial community there will say, and it will grow, and mycorrhiza will grow. That fungus that is the basis of all microbial community in nature. They will grow and they will spread, and the fertility of your soil will keep increasing.
I suppose if you did
your plants will be very happy.
Amazing. I suppose if you did want to make it look pretty, you could put like rocks over it too, right?
You can put some gravel, you can put some nice pebbles. Some people put bark or wood chip can be put on top,
Exactly.
even fresh wood chip. As long as you don't dig it under, as long as you disturb the soil. On the surface of the soil, you can put any organic matter that you have available to you.
Okay, amazing. And then to circle back to the flea topic, so if you have an active infestation of fleas, I would imagine like it depends on the severity of it, but in some cases I would say like it sounds like don't do anything, right?
No, you don't have to do anything. I wouldn't use pesticides.
Okay.
Because all these flea treatments are pesticides.
Exactly.
You're just poisoning your cat with pesticides.
Yep, that's what I thought.
And this pesticide will work for a while your cat's body is struggling and fighting hard to cleanse itself of this terrible poison.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as the body of the cat cleansed itself, she'll get the fleas again.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly if she goes outside. So what we do we have 5 cats on the farm. The farm cats, the feral cats, they live outside all the time, and they're the healthiest cats you could ever meet. We give them a bowl of raw milk per day, and that's it.
Awesome.
The rest they catch themselves, and they keep the farm rat-free.
That's awesome.
They're amazing cats. It's the best rat control ever. Cats. No human invention can come close to cats. But with the domestic cats, we have 2 domestic cats which come home and sleep on my bed.
Okay.
Outside.
Right.
We have the flea combs, the plain plastic little white comb.
Yeah.
So you set up a bowl of water, you dip that comb into the water, and you brush.
Okay.
Once a day, or particularly when the cat has been outside and she came in.
Okay.
So it takes maybe 3 minutes, because the cat's usually very good. They've got a tongue, which is like a brush.
Right.
Got this long sort of
sandpaper tongue,
elastic teeth on the tongue, which are pointing upwards. So when the cat is licking herself, she's brushing herself. So all over her body, she'll deal with the fleas. She'll brush them out and she'll eat them. She consumes them. The only places where she can't do that is on her head and on her cheeks and her neck.
Okay.
So these are the only places you need to brush. So you just dip the brush into the water, brush the head around the ears and on the neck. And as soon as you caught something on that white brush, and you'll see the flea on it.
Okay.
You dip it quickly in the water before the flea jumps.
Okay.
Back on the cat. So they don't like water.
Okay.
They drown in the water. So they will go to have a bath.
Okay.
You just leave them in the water. Those fleas, clean the brush and brush again. Takes about 3 minutes, and we do it once a day or once in every 2 days when the cat comes home. And that's the best way to keep the fleas down.
Okay. Excellent.
It's non-toxic, and there are some remedies sold online which are made with essential oils. I find them a complete waste of time.
Okay. I've seen those ones. I use them like in my backyard. I'll spray like it's mostly like cedar wood and like rosemary is what I typically see.
They smell nice. They sound nice. They don't work.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Just a plain old brush, which is cheap, and works.
And I suppose you would just do the same thing with your dog.
You can do the same with the dog. The dogs, obviously, they don't have the same tongue as the cats.
Right, right.
My big Newfoundland, you can't brush the fleas out of him. So we just
leave it.
Leave that.
Yeah.
But the dog needs to swim in a lake.
Okay.
And our dog swims in a lake every day. And the lake has clay in it. The lake water has clay in it and minerals and all sorts of things, which actually coat the coat of the animal, of the dog. And that keeps the skin healthy and the hair and reduces the flea infestation. They don't like
Okay. That's really good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, this has been really productive and informative. Thank you so much. I did want to tell you a fun story. I was in South America, Nicaragua, and I was zip lining, and you and I share the same name. So my zip lining guide, I told him my name, and he goes, "Oh, Natasha Campbell McBride." And I was like, "Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride?" And he was like, "Yeah, I know her." So you're known even in the jungles of Nicaragua.
Nicaragua.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's nice to hear. I've never been to Nicaragua.
Yeah, I was super surprised to hear him say that. And it was just so funny. I had to share.
Thank you.
Of course. My final question is, where can listeners learn more and find more about you or
Please read
about
my books.
GAPS?
I say, please read my books, because my books are not written based on some textbooks or papers or whatever. They're all based on clinical experience and life experience. Because my patients are my teachers.
Mm.
They give me all the information that I put into my books. Please read my books. And my main website is gaps.me, gaps.me. And from that website, you can get to my blog, where I've got new information. And just today, I've published a new article on my blog called drnatasha.com. I can actually put it in the chat, can't I?
Awesome.
Yes, I can put these things in the chat here. So the Dr. Natasha. That's the blog. And I have an article that we published just today on the blog on treating elderly with the GAPS diet.
Okay.
It's amazing for the elderly people.
I would imagine.
That's right. To keep them on the GAPS diet, you'll provide them with a graceful, active way of aging. Because aging is not a disease. We're supposed to be healthy till the last breath, till the last moment.
I would agree.
Swallowing handfuls of pharmaceuticals and be ill,
Yeah.
So we need to age gracefully and be healthy.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Please read that article. So that's my main website, gaps.me, where I have extensive information about the GAPS diet and GAPS nutritional protocol, various aspects of it. There are some articles there that you can read. We train practitioners and coaches, GAPS practitioners and GAPS coaches on gapstraining.com. And we have many DIY courses there. We have courses for people who are just starting on the GAPS diet and don't know where to start, and they have many questions, and it's difficult for them to figure the whole thing out. If you join that course, starting with GAPS, you will be led by very experienced GAPS practitioners, literally by the hand. All your questions will be answered. And you can move through the course as slowly as you need to, or as fast as you need to. We have a fantastic course for parents with fussy eating children.
Okay.
People who would not eat anything and are difficult to feed. So that course is run by a very experienced practitioner who will just help you to teach you how to get your children to eat everything you put in front of them.
Amazing. So some of these courses are, they're actually led by an instructor?
All of them.
Amazing.
They're extremely useful, all of those. And we have a large group of courses, large list of courses for various health problems and various situations. So please have a look at gapstraining.com.
Absolutely.
We have a GAPS Science Foundation.org. So we're doing scientific studies. We're publishing them in peer-reviewed journals. We've published 5 so far, and we're preparing more. So these articles that we publish show that GAPS works. Because this protocol has been around now for more than 20 years. We've accumulated a lot of data, and that's what we're doing. So that the scientific community, the medical community can see that there's something published and this protocol works.
That's incredible.
We have a GAPS online conference, which will be at the end of February next year. This is our 5th conference, I think, gapshomecom.com. So please join us. We have fantastic speakers. It's a wonderful community that you will join. And we usually join the community a few months prior to the conference, where people can start communicating with each other, sharing their stories, talking to each other. And then for 6 months after the conference is ended, people can continue coming on the platform and listening to the presentations and communicating with each other.
That's a great opportunity to learn and also to connect with other people.
Absolutely. And we are busy working on a GAPS app.
Okay.
Which will come out next summer.
That's exciting.
Very helpful for people following the protocol and for practitioners as well. Through the app, they can communicate with each other and help each other. And we're going to have a GAPS podcast.
Oh, fun.
It should come out in the next few months.
That's so exciting. I can't wait to hear the podcast, see the app, and I'll definitely post these resources too for our listeners.
Yes, please. That's the future. I think I'll put that here as well so GAPS. And those are coming up.
So exciting. That's really cool.
And the information will be on all of these websites.
Beautiful. Love it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your years of wisdom and just pretty much revolutionizing the healthcare and like the health of our planet.
We need to heal our planet. Our planet is alive. It is a living creature.
It totally is.
We need to treat her the way we want to be treated ourselves.
Yeah, the health of our planet is the health of us and our animals and our connection to other people.
It is our home.
Yeah.
If you contaminate your home, then it's not going to be very comfortable, will it?
Agreed.
And you will not be healthy and happy.
So true. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Natasha. It's always a pleasure. And
thank you. Thank you for your work.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your evening, and I'll connect with you guys soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you soon.
Thank you for listening to Highest Health. If you gained value from today's episode, leave a review, share with a friend, or post on social media. If you're interested in achieving your highest health or already pursuing it, send me a DM. I'd love to hear from you.